Yeah. Talking about records, the economy. Yesterday, numbers came out for second quarter. It shrank almost 33%. We have been calling this since March, maybe, or April.
Yep.
And the media was silent up until June. And if they talked about it, it was brief. But you and I have been discussing this since April. We've seen this coming. I still think it's going to get worse. I think the housing market is going to crash, especially in big cities, not so much in the suburbs. But everybody's going to see an impact. There are, I think, now millions of houses that are empty, and we're about to have a huge homeless situation. But yeah,
we already have a huge homeless situation.
Oh yeah, we've been evicting people, or not evicting, but people defaulting on their loans at higher levels than 2008 when we had that housing crisis.
But the only problem is this is driven by something completely different. This isn't driven by what word am I looking for? Subprime mortgages.
Subprime mortgages, yeah, because
where they were
the
selling
rates
houses to
were
people
changing.
with no way of paying them back at extremely high interest rates. I mean, if you walked in there with a pulse, they were selling you a house. Even if they look on the fact that you had literally no money to pay the mortgage every month, they were selling you a house, whatever house you wanted, signing the paperwork and getting signed up. That's self-brought on. This is not self-brought on. This is a crash for completely different reasons. This is a crash because so many businesses have gone under. And I'm slowly starting to see this creep across my newsfeed every day. It's another business files for bankruptcy. Another business filed for bankruptcy. Another business filed. Just today I saw California Pizza Kitchen filed for bankruptcy, right? GameStop reported during their call that they lost millions of dollars in the last quarter. And they're literally only trying to make it to the next console release at the end. And if they do not get a 20 to 25% of that market share, meaning that 20 to 25% of those consoles are sold at their stores, they're going to have to close. So, and not that GameStop is a shining example of a well-run company that cares about their employees or their consumers, but at the end of the day, we're starting to see a lot of businesses close. As you drive down the road, you see a lot of for lease symbols, right? You see a lot of especially small businesses, especially small businesses, cell phone businesses, and even not even small businesses. GameStop is a national corporation. So is California Pizza Kitchen. These are big businesses that are losing because restaurants have been closed for months now. And even when they reopened, people were a lot less likely to go out because they didn't want to be encouraged in it. Bars, and that means that bartenders and waiters, servers are now unable to pay their rent. There's been huge downsizes when it comes to staffing for airports because people are not traveling as much. It doesn't just impact pilots, but it impacts stewards. It impacts baggage handlers. It impacts TSA agents. It impacts people who work the ticket counter. I mean, you got to think how many millions of people each one of these, companies impact. The corporate people who work in corporate, people who work in the call centers that support those stores. It's not just the people in there. Those companies go down. Thousands and thousands of people lose their jobs. And that immediately impacts the economy. But there's been 3 separate bills proposed by the Republicans in the past month to try to extend the unemployment benefits. And
let me get on the economy before we move to the bill.
No cooperation from your girl Pelosi. It's Paco's favorite.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. But yeah, we're seeing that drop in the economy, and it's devastating. But this is entirely a policy decision, because from the beginning of the pandemic, Democrats and Republicans decided to funnel all of our money to bailouts or assistance to big corporations who still did layoffs, who still didn't keep their employees paid, shift money to the military, which is the bills that you're about to talk about, where they want to get $30 billion to the military when it doesn't make sense to do so. So it's a policy decision where Democrats and Republicans decided to funnel the money that way. It's not rocket science. The American economy is based on consumerism. Buy things. So it's common sense to keep money in the pocket of those consumers. And then you will not see those businesses failing, because then people will go to GameStop and buy video games. People will continue to consume at the levels that they were doing before.
Don't go to GameStop and buy video games. Don't spend your money there.
Oh, that's not my recommendation.
Let them fail. That's
not my recommendation. I'm just giving an example. The U.S. is a consumer-based economy. So if you don't want it to crash, keep money in people's pockets. Do what Europe did. Do what other countries did, which was helping employers pay 70 to 100% of the salaries. And you look at Europe, unemployment increased 1% tops. Yes, the economy shrinks, but they're going to have a super fast recovery compared to what we are going to see here. This is going to last for many years. It's not going to be a fast recovery. It's going to put a lot of people homeless, a lot of people with a risk of going hungry every day. So that's going to increase because it was already bad. It's total disaster. And then going to the bills, I'll let you go there. My point with what the bills that I've seen is they're trying to propose things and they're saying, oh, no, your bill is dead on arrival. So they're not agreeing to things. I get it, because right now there is leverage for more social support, but even then they're not pushing for what we need or what we needed 5 months ago. They're pushing for such little things that are not going to make a difference in the economy or the people. And this is both Democrats and Republicans. It doesn't make sense to add billions of dollars to the military to buy new F-35 fighters.
I don't know. I want a new F-35 fighter.
I would like one too, but I don't need it until I'm out of the pandemic. You
don't know that. If you have a revolution, you may really need an F-35 fighter.
You're right. I'm going to call Pelosi right now.
Don't you sass F-35 fighters. All right.
New FBI buildings. It just doesn't make sense. And again, this goes both Democrats and Republicans. Nobody's giving us what we need.
Well, that's fine, but a bill needs to be passed and needs to be back quickly. I don't care.
Absolutely.
I don't care. I don't care about this bickering. I don't care about none of this nonsense. If the Republicans are bringing at least something serviceable to the floor, and the Democrats want changes to be made, they need to lock themselves in the room and figure it out. But they haven't. They've been in recess for a long period of time.
Yeah, and they're about to go on recess again in August. So I don't know if we're going to get anything passed anytime soon. No. And this program, it just gets worse and worse and worse. One of the interesting things on this bill.
But our government needs to be responsible for social programs and fixing our education system. We can't even get a bill out on time to help Americans when they need to have it. You know what the answer is? Put the government in charge of more things. Put them in charge of more stuff. They've done so well in handling the COVID-19 response. I want you to look at, we're not even allowed in some countries because of how badly our government has handled the COVID-19 response. Our government sucks at being a government. We are so large and inefficient in the way that we operate.
And corrupt.
What the heck? Why the heck would you want them in charge of anything more than what they're in charge of right now? They should be out of everything. Get them out. Allow state governments to handle things, right? Take it out of the federal government's hands. Get them out of it. They can't even handle themselves. It's like a bunch of pestilent children all sitting in one room with their arms crossed, staring at each other. It's like everyone you watch Congress in session, and it's like if you ever got sent to ISS in school.
All of them, everybody needs to be unseated because nobody is leading this crisis at the state or federal level. I know you say give it to the states. The states in the U.S. have some of the biggest powers if you compare them to other governments, and they're still not doing a good job at responding to this. So this is huge. I wouldn't trust anybody. I wouldn't even trust AOC handling this.
Good. Right? So we're on the agreement, right? Get the freaking government out of our lives.
I would not
get them
trust
out.
Anybody.
Get them out.
Anybody.
Get them out. Get them out of the education system.
Or federal.
Get them out of everything.
We need to
the government out.
We need to start over.
But your response is to fix what's going on in Portland, and right, is more social services paid by our taxes, right? So put the government in charge of the social services, which are supposed to service our communities. Right?
Yeah,
give the government that power. They'll be okay with that. Let them control healthcare, because they'll deal with that just fine. But everything else they've just completely destroyed into shambles. But they'll handle healthcare just fine. Put them in charge of healthcare. They'll handle that great, and let them handle social services for our country. I mean, they've already bankrupted Social Security. That was like the one social program we've had for the longest time, and they've already bankrupted Social Security. You want to put them in charge of handling social programs in neighborhoods? You want to put them in charge of handling healthcare? Are you kidding? That's it. Can you imagine a government-controlled healthcare that also has people who are able to come in there, lobbyists? Can you imagine a healthcare program run by a government that has lobbyists?
No.
Can you imagine that? You would
literally disaster.
Well, that's what you want, because the lobbyists are not going to be gone by the time it's health. It doesn't, Paco. I'm telling you right now, it is far more likely that Medicare for all would get passed than lobbyists are taken out of Washington.
You're not wrong.
So what you're saying is you would rather have a lobbyist-controlled Washington Medicare for all than what we have right now?
That's a really tough decision. Yes, because it will at least help some people better than it does now. But it's nowhere near what everybody in government. I don't trust anybody, and we do not have.
By the way, where has AOC been during this entire crisis?
She's out there pushing for the military to not be able to recruit on Twitch after they passed $700+ billion in military funding just a few weeks ago.
Who cares if the military advertises on Twitch?
That's 100% grandstanding, Jonathan. Trying to act, I'm against the military, but I will not say anything.
No. I'm saying who cares? Who cares if I'm not saying her. I don't care what she's doing. I don't care. Let AOC fight that battle. I don't care. Who cares if the military advertises on Twitch? Who cares?
I don't care.
Why is that big of a deal?
I don't care. It's grandstanding. That's all.
Well, that's what the Democrats do.
Grandstanding and theater. Yeah, because she didn't say anything about the military budgets, did she?
No.
You see her in Pelosi's sitting in Pelosi's office saying, "I'm going to organize a progressive caucus to not pass this." No.
I just realized I just saw that she's fighting to keep it off Twitch and Facebook. She doesn't think that she doesn't think that the military should be able to advertise on social platforms. Well, first of all, you can't make that control. It's up to who owns the social platform, whether or not they want to sell advertising to them. That's it.
Yeah.
It's up to them. So if the United States Navy says we're going to give you, I don't know, I don't know how much it costs, $10,000, and you run our ad this month, and Twitch can say yes, or Twitch can say no, because it's Amazon. Amazon owns Twitch. Amazon can say yes, or Amazon pretty soon Amazon's going to own all of us. Yes or no, right? That's pretty much all it's going to be, right? Yes or no. They can agree to accept that or not. It's up to them. They're a private company. They can say yes or no to whoever they want to advertise, and they make that decision based on their audience, right? Twitch has turned down certain advertisers, right, based on the type of company that they are, and they have a right to do that because they're a private company. They can agree to who they want to advertise, and they agree to who they don't want to advertise, and they can also ban people for doing things that they believe is against community standards. Really different discussion for a completely different time.
Yep.
AOC, are your constituents in your district asking you for that specifically?
No, but
I feel like they're not. I feel like they don't care.
She's going to go back to the constituents and let them know that she's fighting for their health care and that she's fighting for equal rights and all those things that she ran on. And then she's going to go back to Washington and cozy up to Pelosi and the Democrat establishment and tell you to vote for Joe Biden, who will not support medical for all.
No, it's not Joe Biden. It's not Joe Biden anymore. It's President Pelosi.
President Pelosi.
It's Madam President Pelosi.
So it's a freaking joke, and I do not trust anybody. And everybody needs to be unseated. Anybody that is up for election, and we need to do.
You were like AOC all the way.
Oh,
I remember like 4 or 5 months ago, it was just like AOC can do no wrong. She's the future of the party. And then guess what happened? Washington got to her. Pelosi got to her. And now she does what every other Democrat does. And that's grandstand on stupid issues that don't really matter at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, they're still going to vote in those bills that Trump puts in front of them.
But she does a really good job at standing up to Republicans, man. Have you seen her Twitter videos and speeches? Makes a huge difference when she does that. You know? That's why we have healthcare now. But last piece on the bill. I love this because another one that was trending was President Cuomo. Not this week, but they really liked him because he did a wonderful job in New York.
And did you say President Cuomo?
Yeah, that's what
President Cuomo.
That's what was trending for a little while, right? Because he did a wonderful job in New York. Because
what are you talking about? New York has been a disaster.
Well, so with the pandemic, when it happened, he introduced this law to protect healthcare CEOs, executives, and board members from lawsuits, right, related to COVID-19, especially as he was telling nursing homes to take COVID-infected patients, and that's why New York has had one of the highest death rates in the country, because the elderly who were infected with COVID-19 were being sent back to nursing homes as dictated by Cuomo. And he created this law to protect those healthcare executives. Well, now in this HEALS Act, Senate Republicans looked at that law and said, this makes sense. Let me go ahead and copy word by word and put it on the HEALS Act. So they went to key parts of that law that Cuomo passed. It's part of the HEALS Act so that corporations are not going to be liable for any COVID-19 lawsuits. So there is a hero for the Democrats.
Cuomo?
Yeah.
Cuomo's the hero?
Oh, man. I don't know if you saw it.
Screaming Cuomo?
Everybody is saying Cuomo should replace Biden as a nominee.
Who said that? Who said that?
Liberals. All the liberals.
My God.
You look at May and June, and they want Cuomo to...
You don't become mayor of New York City by being pro-worker and pro-union. I can tell you that right now. In fact, I'm even surprised that Cuomo calls himself a Democrat. I'm really surprised he gets away with calling himself a Democrat.
He's barely a centrist.
He's
barely a centrist.
He's capitalist business. Are you kidding me? He's big business. You have to be the mayor of New York City. Look at Rudy Giuliani. The only difference is Rudy Giuliani didn't hide it. He didn't hide the fact that he was pro business and he was pro. He was all about bringing jobs to New York City and bringing and bringing in work and bringing in companies and making New York City a place where people wanted to set up and wanted to come in. And doing that requires eliminating. We look at the bad side of things, right? Whenever you look at a mayor coming in and reducing regulation and putting these in places to protect executives and things, everybody looks at that and goes, well, that's crappy, right? That's only worrying about businesses. It's only worrying about the top dogs. You've got to understand something. Every city is at a bidding war, especially every big city in the United States is at a bidding war to get businesses to come and set up shop. Because when you do, you get huge tax revenue. There's more jobs for your citizens. More people move here, which is more tax revenue for you. More people buy houses. More people buy properties. More contractors come in, buy land, develop the land. You get tax revenue off that. You got to understand, the government makes tax revenue off everything. You get paid, they take tax. You drive your car, you pay tax. You buy something, you pay tax. You breathe, you pay tax. You pay taxes on your property. You pay taxes when you do renovations to your house. You pay taxes when you fart. It doesn't matter what you do here in the United States, you pay taxes. And the whole point is for a mayor, right, is to bring more revenue into the city, however case that may be. So by doing these things, by removing these regulations, you look at it from the outside going and goes, oh, he's only worried about the top dogs. No, he's trying to say New York's a good place to come in and set up shop. You're not going to get sued if you want to run a business here. So please move your business here. Because right now across the United States, all these businesses are closing. That's lost revenue to the state. And that's less jobs for people. So mayors and governors are just are at an all-time wide open trying to save it. And you know who really should be trying to save their state? California. Holy crap.
Doesn't look good.
That state's been on fire, literally on fire. When Paradise burned down, literally on fire. When that energy company that didn't maintain their wires literally burned down an entire city in California. Because besides the fact that it was actually literally on fire for a while, they have LA has just gone to, so I don't know, they have one of the worst homeless populations in the United States, but it's unregulated because of their city council. So it's interesting. They were talking about how it's kind of changed before. You have Skid Row in Los Angeles, right? Which is like a huge homeless population area in downtown LA. But it's spread out now. And before they were allowed to be there. But then somebody made the argument, why are the homeless only allowed to be in downtown? Shouldn't the homeless allowed to also live in the suburbs where the nicer areas are? So now the homeless people are spreading out into the suburb areas of Los Angeles, into the nicer areas of Los Angeles. And there's no policing to stop them from doing that because they're like, they should be able to live wherever they want. Even though they can't afford a house, mind you, they can just go live wherever they want. So all these suburban neighborhoods are starting to have needles left on the street, human feces, people sleeping on the sidewalks.
And it's going to get worse. It's going to get much worse.
The problem is it's already that bad in California as it is right now. And California has one of the highest costs of living anywhere.
And police budgets.
The whole West do.
Police budgets. That's
what, LA County?
Yeah.
You don't hear anything crap about LA County.
One of the top 5 police budgets in the U.S.
No, I'm just saying,
the world.
You're not hearing. You don't hear any. You haven't heard about any clashes there.
No,
you've heard. I mean, they've been protesting there too, but there hasn't been any violence.
No,
there hasn't been that much violence in LA County. But to be perfectly honest with you, LA is kind of used to protests. I mean, California's always been the progressive side of the country, so they protest against pretty much anything that pops up on TV.
We got derailed.
We got what?
We got derailed again. But it's good stuff. It's just Governor Cuomo. He's not a hero. He is the cause of why New York was impacted as bad as it was. I hope that he makes the right decisions for the second wave. I hope there is no second wave there because they're doing really good with their numbers. But yeah, he's not a hero, and Republicans are using his legislation for their bills.